the stand. Now he runs. He produces a magic print. He pulls out another one. This is incredible. This is ridiculous. This is 15 out of 10 on the incredible meter. What a player. What an entertainer. Give him the medal. Give him the Dally M medal.
Hello, footy fans, and welcome back to the Chip and Chase podcast. We're here to wrap up the Round 9 NRL Telstra Premiership previews leading into our Sunday game. So, as we always do, let's get right into it, shall we? Starting with the Newcastle Knights taking on the New Zealand Warriors, 2 p.m, McDonald Jones Stadium, Newcastle. So you can expect this one is a Knights home game. Knights currently sitting 13th on the ladder, Warriors only one ahead of them in 12th. So it could be a really good clash here. I'm really excited for this one. I am actually going to be in attendance of this one. So we're getting this one recorded right before I get ready to up and leave and head out to the game. So really excited for this one. Hoping the Wars can get it done as a bit of a Warrior supporter. But before we get into the tips, we'll go through the ins and outs for these sides. So for the Knights, there's not too much of note for them. A late change is that Jacob Saifiti has succumbed to the little injury he picked up last week. Doesn't look like he's going to be out for an extended period, but he has been rested for this game. Jack Hetherington comes in at prop, jersey 19, returning from his suspension. So he will start the game for the Knights. Their bench is the same as it was last week. That's Phoenix Crossland, Daniel Saifiti, Jed Cartwright, and Brodie Jones. Matt Croker and Thomas Kahn are their reserves. For the Warriors, not a whole lot going on here either. They are just boosted by the returns of Kurt Capewell from, I believe, was a throat injury. So he comes straight back into second row. And Bunty Afoa on the bench, which I think is going to be really, really important for the Warriors. I've been quite critical of their bench recently, thinking they need to step up. I thought Dylan Walker had a good impact for them last week in his return, but still a couple errors in his game. I think, now that he's back from injury and he's shaking off that rust, he'll be good for the road. I think Bunty Afoa is going to be really great to just hold that momentum. His defense, a lot of people think Bunty is just running off the back fence, which, that's what he is. I love that about Bunty. That's why we all love him. But his defense is one of the best in the NRL, and he's going to shore out that middle. So I think that's going to be really important for them. Dropping out of this side is Paul Roach and last week's debutant Zion Mayu. So those are the teamless changes for these two sides. If we go into the tips, you can safely assume I have tipped the Warriors. Now, usually in the times of the Warriors being crap, and maybe they're back to that, maybe not. I don't believe they are. But back in the day, I'd usually tip against the Warriors, so then it was a win-win. I'll be completely honest. I'd get a win because I'd get up in my tipping comp if they lost, but also I'd get a win because I'd actually be happy because they won. So maybe it's getting back to that. It's not at the moment. I still believe in the Warriors. I have tipped them for this one. In fact, I've actually tipped them 13 plus in my bets, which we'll get to. I just think that they have to bounce back in a big way. I know Knights were really good, really gritty last week in the absence of Ponga. They got that win, and that's so good for them. This one is in McDonald Jones Stadium. It is in Newcastle, so it could be a different story. They always get up for these games. I attended the Knights-Warriors game last year when the Knights were struggling and the Warriors were going pretty darn well, and the Knights won that one. So definitely could be won by the Knights, but I'm going to back my boys in up the wires, as they say. So let's move into the key matchups, shall we? Now, there's a lot across the board in this one. There's a lot of matchups I actually really am excited to see. You can look at the battles on the wing. Greg Marju's going to be up against Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, I believe. Well, that depends what side Marju plays. They sort of throw him around a bit at the moment, but I'm really excited to see those two. Marju hasn't really had his best season so far, but he's still one of the better wingers in our comp, and I'd like to see him crash over for a try up against Dallin, who's had a few defensive issues in his game as of late. So there's definitely opportunities for these two players to cross. Neither are the best wingers, but both know how to score a try. Beyond that, Rocco Berry, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck up against Dane Gagai and Bradman Best. One of the better centre matchups across the league. Rocco Berry and Dane Gagai especially, some of the best defensive centres in the league. Rocco Berry had a bit of not a Barry Crocker last week, but he missed some tackles that he'd normally make last week. There was the notable one on Brian Kelly. In fairness, Brian Kelly puts that move on a lot of players. If you watched the Storm Titans game last night, Kelly loves to beat an opponent one-on-one, so I'm not going to fully hold it against Barry, but I think he will be out for redemption up against the stalwart of Dane Gagai. Are they going to be marked up against each other? Right-hand side, left-hand side? No, they won't. He'll be up against Bradman Best, but I think that's even better because it means the better defensive player of the Warriors in Rocco Berry is marking the better attacking player of the Knights in Bradman Best, and the better defensive player of the Knights in Dane Gagai is marking the better attacking player in Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. So really excited to see how these centres go at it. I think that's going to be a really big point of interest for me. Beyond that, though, I do really like, as I said, the Greg Marju and Dallin Watene-Zelezniak matchup. So let's move into the bets. As we alluded to, I have got the Warriors winning this one 13 plus in the big win, little win margin for the first leg of this multi. I think they have to bounce back in a big way. If they don't win this one, I mean, I've said that last week, 2 weeks. If they don't do it, though, I've got serious concerns. Like, I already had a bit of concerns after the Titans game, but I believe in the squad. I believe in what... I've blanked on the coach. Who's the coach? Andrew Webster. I believe in what Andrew Webster's building and his ability. So I believe they can bounce back, and I see them getting a big win to really state their authority on this competition. Beyond that, I do have Dallin Watene-Zelezniak crossing for 2 or more tries. As we said, I think up against Greg Marju, it's just going to be I think that side is just going to cross for a lot of tries. I actually might put an extra bet on just for those 2 players to be try scorers in a different little bet. But lastly, I have Sean Johnson to score 8 or more points as the last leg of my multi. So that is New Zealand Warriors head-to-head 13 plus. Sorry, New Zealand Warriors 13 plus in the big win, little win. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak to score 2 or more tries, and Sean Johnson to score 8 points. 8 plus points. And the odds of that come to $9.75. So if you're putting $1 on that and all 3 legs get up, you win $9.75 back to the dollar. But once again, I will reiterate, all my betting is done through Sportsbet. If you're wanting to follow along with any of these bets in, the most reliable way, do it through Sportsbet. I'm not affiliated with them. They're just the agency that I choose to bet with. Some of these markets may not be available with other agencies, and even if they are, the odds may be completely different. So if you just want to follow along closest to what I'm doing here, do it through Sportsbet. But please make sure we are only gambling responsibly. Don't bet what you can't afford, guys. Gambling is meant to just be a little bit of fun here and there. And if it's no longer fun for you, please do seek help. But that will move us into the late Sunday game. I say late. We know Sunday. Sunday's good for afternoon footy. So the late game is 4:05 p.m. The Cronulla Sharks taking on the St George Illawarra Dragons. PointsBet Stadium, Sydney. So it is a Sharkies home game, this one. But as we know, this is one of the older rivalries in rugby league. Always love this clash. I'm really excited for this one, especially because it is Shane Flanagan returning against his former side. In terms of Supercoach, every man and their dog has Nico Hines captain for this one. I'll give you the hot tip. I've gone away from that. I'm probably going to live to regret it, but I've had my concerns about this game the entire week, and you know what I say? I say back your gut. So I've actually switched my captain off Nico onto Chance Nickel Klukstad. So hopefully Nico can go quiet. Hopefully the Dragons can get up for it, because that is how I see it going. I really do think the Dragons can get up for it. But before we get into all that, once again, we will go through the team list in and outs for the Sharkies. Only the one this week. Simply that Tuku Hautapua has made way for Toby Rudolph returning to the side, while for the Dragons, Zach Lomax has moved into the centres for Moses Sully, who is ruled out with concussion, and Michaeli Ravalawa comes back onto that wing. Those are the only changes for these sides, so pretty stock standard sides. They're close to full strength for both of these teams. In terms of the tips, I did just say the Dragons will get up for it. I do still think the Sharkies get the win, though. I'm really hoping it's a close game. Last week I said the Dragons should get up for the Anzac Day clash, and they lost 60-18. So I'm hoping it's not another scoreline like that. Because, there was entertaining tries scored in that Roosters game. Sam Walker had an absolute masterclass. Hopefully the Dragons can just rally the troops and just, it's weird. They're quite an inconsistent footy team this year. They have one really great game where they show, look, we can beat better sides, and then they go and do what they did last week. Maybe it's just going to continue in that trend and they get up for this one, but I'm a bit worried that they don't. But surely you're getting up for your coach against his former club. I just think, the Dragons, I hope it's a close game. I'd love the Dragons to win. You guys know me. I'm all for a close competition, always here for the underdogs as long as it's not the Warriors. I'd like to just see the Dragons get the win here, despite the fact I have tipped the Sharkies. But as I said, I do think the Sharkies just have too much strike power across the board. I think they're a more dangerous football side when everything runs through Nicho Hines as it did last week. I really liked the role Daniel Atkinson played in last week, just bopping and weaving. I think he's a threatening little player at 5'8". I think he can be a really good 5'8" for this side. I don't know how long Trindle's going to be out for, but I'm hoping Atkinson can really play a really good role in this side and knuckle down and keep that spot, at least, until Trindle's back, which might be an extended period. We're not quite sure. But we'll move into the matchups for this one. Now, where am I going to look? You guys know me. I love looking at the centre matchups. Really like that again this week. Jack Bird and Zach Lomax against Jesse Ramian and Kale Iro. I'm going to try and stay away from that. I'm pretty sure I mention them every single week. You can look at the halfbacks. Maybe that is the way. You know what? Look, there are matchups across the board, but I think I am going to have to go for the halfbacks. Nicho Hines, Ben Hunt. 2021 was when Nicho Hines won the Dally M. I thought that was Ben Hunt's Dally M. I know Nicho Hines won it and broke the record for the most points ever. I love what Ben Hunt did that season. I thought he was the best player in the NRL, and that's taking nothing away from Hines. He was also a worthy recipient. But I'd really like to, really keen to see these two go at it. We know that they run their sides. They're the Hunt and Soil their sides. If their team is to do well, it's off the back of these guys, really. So Ben Hunt, Nicho Hines in the halfback role, definitely my matchup to watch in this game. We'll move into our bets to wrap up our round 9 previews. Let's start with St George Illawarra Dragons to cover the line. Now the line in this game is 13.5 points. So essentially, if you're not familiar with what the line is, it essentially means the Dragons come out with 13.5 points as a head start, as if they start the game and they've already got 13.5 points on the board. So that for this leg to lose, they have to lose the game by over 13.5 points. So if they lose by 14 points to the Sharks, if the Sharks have a margin of 14-0, that just for instance, then I lose that leg. But if the Dragons stay within 14 points, essentially, of the Sharks, then that leg gets up. So I've got Dragons to cover the line. I've got Jesse Ramian as an anytime try scorer. You guys know me, love my Jesse Ramian anytime try scorer. And I've got the match going under 45.5 total match points. It's expected to be in the rain, this one, so hoping for a nice gritty affair through the forwards. I think the Sharks have a great forward pack, but I am quite impressed with how the Dragons are playing with their forward pack as well. I think if it's to go through the forwards, it should be a nice close contest. Hopefully not too much ball spread. It'll just be a nice contained game and the scoreline won't get away from either team. So under 45.5 total match points. Happy with that. We'll read through them again. That's St George Illawarra Dragons to cover the line. Jesse Ramian, anytime try scorer, and under 45.5 total match points for the odds of $11. And that one will wrap us up for the Sunday previews and for the round 9 previews in general. So thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, we will be back next week with all of our previews, our review, our Supercoach content. Let me know if there are any other podcasts you want to see or any other, if you're engaging with the Instagram. If you're not, head over and do that. That's at Chip and Chase Podcast on Instagram. But if you want to see any new things on the Instagram, let me know, reach out. I'm struggling of ideas to really post on there, but I would like to be a bit more active. So let me know what you guys want to see. If there's something that other content creators out there aren't doing and you think it's a niche thing that's being missed, let me know and we can work out something and try and make that a reality for you guys. But that one will do us here. So thank you guys for tuning in and I'll see you guys next time.